Good evening, my lovelies. Tonight I am reading from a book from a piece of my history. It's called The Illustrated Treasury of Children's Literature, copyright 1955. And in honor of the person who has inspired me to start this channel, I would like to have my first story that I read be Cinderella. There was once an honest gentleman who took for his second wife the proudest and most disagreeable lady in the whole country. She had 2 daughters exactly like herself. He himself had one little girl who resembled her dead mother, the best woman in all the world. Scarcely had the second marriage taken place before the stepmother became jealous of the good qualities of the little girl, who was so great a contrast to her own 2 daughters. She gave her all the hard work of the house, compelling her to wash the floors and staircases, to dust the bedrooms, and clean the grates, while her sisters occupied carpeted chambers hung with mirrors, where they could see themselves from head to foot. This poor little girl was sent to sleep in the attic, on an old straw mattress, with only one chair and not a looking-glass in the room. She suffered all in silence, not daring to complain to her father, who was entirely ruled by his new wife. When her daily work was done, she used to sit down in the chimney corner among the ashes, from which the 2 sisters gave her the nickname of Cinderella. But Cinderella, however shabbily clad, was handsomer than they were with all their fine clothes. It happened that the king's son gave a series of balls, to which were invited all the rank and fashion of the city, and among the rest, 2 elder sisters. They were very proud and happy, and occupied their whole time in deciding what they should wear. This was a source of new trouble to Cinderella, whose duty it was to get up their fine linen and laces, and who never could please them, however much she tried. They talked of nothing but their clothes. "I," said the elder, "shall wear my velvet gown and my trimmings of English lace." "And I," added the younger, "will have but my ordinary silk petticoat, but I shall adorn it with an upper skirt of flowered brocade, and shall put on my diamond tiara, which is a great deal finer than anything of yours." Here the elder sister grew angry, and the dispute began to run so high that Cinderella, who was known to have excellent taste, was called upon to decide between them. She gave the best advice she could, and offered to dress them herself, and especially to arrange their hair, an accomplishment in which she excelled many a notable. The important evening came, and she exercised all her skill in adorning the young ladies. While she was combing out the elder's hair, this ill-natured girl said sharply, "Cinderella, do you not wish you were going to the ball?" "Ah, madam," I oblige her always to say madam. "You are only mocking me. It is not my fortune to have any such pleasure." "You are right. People would only laugh to see a little cinder wench at a ball." After this, any other girl would have dressed her all right, but Cinderella was good and made perfectly even and smooth. The sisters had scarcely eaten for 2 days, and had broken a dozen lace a day in trying to make themselves slender. But tonight they broke a dozen more, and lost their tempers over and over again before they had completed their toilette. When at last the happy moment arrived, Cinderella followed them to the coach, and after it had whirled them away, she sat down by the kitchen fire and cried. Immediately, Gobbler, who was a fairy, appeared beside her. "What are you crying for, my little maid?" "Oh, I wish, sobs up her. "You wish to go to the ball, isn't it so?" Cinderella nodded. "Well, then, be a good girl, and you shall go. First run into the garden, and fetch me the largest pumpkin you can find." Cinderella did not understand what did her go into the ball, but on alleging, she went. Her godmother took the pumpkin, and, having scooped out all its inside, struck it with her wand. It became a splendid coach, lined with rose-colored satin. "Now, fetch me the mousetrap out of the pantry here." Cinderella brought it. It contained 6 of the thinnest, sleekest mice. The fairy lifted up the wire door. As each mouse ran out, she struck it and changed it into a beautiful black horse. "But what shall I do for your coachman, Cinderella?" Cinderella suggested that she had seen a large black rat in the rat, and he might do for one better. "You are right. Go looking for him." He was found, and the fairy made into a most respectable coachman with the finest whisper imaginable. She afterwards took 6 servants from behind the pumpkin frame and changed into 6 footmen, all in splendid livery, who immediately jumped up behind the carriage as if they had been footmen all their days. "Well, Cinderella, Now you can go to the ball." "What? In these clothes?" said Cinderella piteously, looking down on her ragged frock. Her grandmother laughed, and touched her also wand, at which her wretched thread jacket became stiff with gold and sparkling jewels. Her woollen petticoat lengthened into a gown of spring satin, from underneath which peeped out her little feet, filled with silk stockings and the prettiest glass slippers in the world. "Now, Cinderella, you may go. Remember, if you stay 1 instant after midnight, your carriage will become a pumpkin, your coat a rat, your horses mice, and your footmen lizards, while you yourself will be the little star you were an hour ago." Cinderella promised without fear. Her heart was full of joy. Arrived at the palace, the king's son, whom someone, probably the fairy, had told her with the coming of an uninvited princess whom nobody knew, was standing at the entrance, ready to receive her. He offered her his hand and led her with utmost courtesy through the assembled guests, who decided to let her pass, whispering to one another, "Oh, how beautiful she is!" It might have turned the head of anyone but poor Cinderella, who was so used to being despised, but she took it all as if it were something happening in a dream. The triumph was complete. Even the old king said to the queen that never since her majesty's young days had been so charming a person. All the court ladies scanned her eagerly, clothes and all, and determined to have theirs made the next day of exactly the same pattern. The king's son himself led her out to dance, and she danced so gracefully that he admired her more and more. Indeed, at supper, which was fortunately early, his admiration quite took away his appetite. Cinderella herself sought out her sisters, placed herself beside them, and offered them all sorts of civil attentions. These, coming they supposed from a stranger, almost overwhelmed them with delight. While she was talking, she heard the clock strike 11:45, making a courteous adieu to the royal family. She re-entered the carriage, escorted gallantly by the king's son, and arrived safely at her own door. There she found her grandmother, smiling approval, and of whom she begged permission to go to a second ball the following night, to which the queen had invited her. While she was talking, 2 sisters were heard at the gate, and their godmother vanished, leaving Cinderella sitting in the chimney corner, rubbing her eyes and pretending to be very sleepy. "Ah!" cried the eldest sister spitefully, "it has been a most delightful ball, and there was present the most beautiful princess I ever saw, who was so exceeding delightful as both." "What is she?" said Cinderella, "and who might it be?" "Nobody knows, though everybody would give their eyes to know, especially the king's son." "Indeed," replied Cinderella, a little more interested. "I should like to see her." Then she turned to the elder sister and said, "Miss Shut, will you not let go tomorrow and lend me your yellow gown that you wear on Sundays?" "What? Lend my yellow gown to a cinder wench? I am not so mad at that." At refusal, Cinderella did not complain, for if her sister had lent her the gown, she would have been considerably embarrassed. The next night came, and the 2 young ladies, richly dressed in different toilettes, went to the ball. Cinderella, splendidly attired and more beautiful than ever, followed them shortly after. Now remember, 12 o'clock was her godmother's spring speech, and she thought she certainly should. But the prince's attentions to her were greater even on the first evening, and in the delight of listening to his pleasant conversation, time slipped by unperceived. While she was sitting beside him in a lovely alcove, and looking at the moon from under a bough of orange blossoms, she heard the clock strike the first stroke of 12. She started up and fled away as lightly as a deer. Amazed, the prince followed, but could not catch her. Indeed, he missed his lovely princess altogether, and only saw running out of the palace doors a little dirty lad whom he had never held before, and of whom he certainly would never have taken the least notice. Cinderella arrived home breathless and weary, ragged and cold, without a carriage or footman or coachman. The only remnant of her past magnificence being one of her little glass slippers. The others she dropped in the ballroom as she ran away. When the 2 sisters returned, they were full of this strange adventure, how the beautiful lady had made them more beautiful than ever, and she had everyone look at her, and how, as the clock was striking 12, she had suddenly risen up and fled through the ballroom, disappearing no one knew how or where, and dropping one of her glass slippers behind her in the light. The king's son had remained inconsolable until he chanced to pick the little glass slipper, which he carried away in his pocket and was seen to take out continually, and look at it affectionately, with the air of a man very much in love. In fact, from his behavior in the remainder of the evening, all court and royal family were sure that he desperately was in love with the wearer of the little glass slipper. Cinderella listened in silence, turning his kitchen fire. Perhaps it was that which made her look so rosy. Nobody ever noticed or admired her at home, it did not signify, and next morning she went to her room again just as before. A few days after, the whole city was attracted by the sight of Harold going round with a little glass slipper in his hand, publishing, with a flourish of trumpets, the king's son orders to be fit on the foot of every lady in the kingdom, and he was to marry the lady whom it fitted best, or to whom it and fellow slipper belonged. Princesses, duchesses, princesses, and simple gentlemen all tried it on, but being a fixed slipper, it fitted away, and besides, nobody could produce a fellow slipper, which lay all the time safely in the pocket of Cinderella's old woolen gown. Thus the herald came to the house of the 2 sisters, and though they well knew neither of them was the beautiful lady, they made every attempt to get their clumsy feet to the slipper, but in vain. "Let me try it on," said Cinderella in the chimney corner. "What, you?" cried the others, bursting into shout laughter. But Cinderella only smiled and held her. Her sisters could not prevent her, since the command was that every man in the city should try on the slipper, and more than no chance be left untried. The prince was nearly breaking his heart. His father and mother were afraid that, though a prince, he actually died for love of the beautiful unknown lady. The hero made Cinderella sit down on a three-legged stool in the kitchen, and he himself the slipper on her foot. It fitted exactly. Then withdrew from her pocket a yellow slipper, which she also put on and stood up. The touch of the magic dews all her dress changed likewise. No longer she poor despised Cinderella with beautifully wings sun loved. Her sisters recognized at once. Filled with astonishment, filled with alarm, they threw themselves at her feet, begging her pardon for all her former unkindness. She rose and embraced them, saying she forgave them with all her heart and only hoped they would love her always. Then she departed with the herald to the king's palace and told her whole story to his majesty and the royal family. They were not in the least surprised, for everyone believed in fairies and everyone longed to have a fairy godmother. As for the young prince, he found her morally and lovable ever, and insisted on marrying her immediately. Cinderella never went home again, but she sent her to search the palace and married them shortly after two rich gentlemen of the court. Again, this book is called The Illustrated Treasury of Children's Literature. That particular book of Cinderella is from the Arthur Rackham Fairy Book, selected Arthur Rackham to become part of a slowly compendium of fairy tales and stories. I hope you enjoyed, and also hope that you have sweet dreams.
Think your taxes are simple? You could file for free with H&R Block. More people qualify for H&R Block free online than TurboTax Free Edition. Find eligibility requirements. File for free with H&R Block. More people qualify for H&R Block free online than TurboTax Free Edition. Find eligibility requirements.